A warm welcome back to the Forensic Detailing channel. Today's video aims are very, very simple actually. We're working on rinseless washes and I want to take 12 microfiber towels. Those are the ones I'm going to use for washing. They're all similar format, they're different colours, but same sort of type of towel. They're all clean. And then I've got 12 identical towels for the buff. I have got the sponge in there as well and a bucket of water just so I can use the sponge and then clean most of the, try and flush it through so I don't reduce a bit of cross-contamination if I just want to test out the sponge. But what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for a slick feel over the panel when the microfiber's wet. And then when I dry it, I'm looking for less of that film, that kind of murky film. And I'm looking for a slick feel when I buff with the microfiber. And I'm not sure what I'm going to get. But I think that's a really important quality, isn't it, of a rinseless, that contact when you're making contact and when you're buffing it, that user experience, probably worth marking. So let's go in, and in no particular order, these buckets are all pre-mixed down to the brands ratio. So this first one is Geon. Now this one's down to around about 189, I think. So let's just mix it all up. You can, I've just got a comment from Geon. The ratios, you can go from 150 to 1 to 256 with this. But they provided a range so you could put more in. But really, I think just having one ratio is quite kind of good with these. So I'm just going to work in little sections by little sections. I really need two hands actually, but I like to get the cloth folded as well. The car's reasonably clean. It's just been out in the rain, so that feels lovely actually. It does feel slick, but it's the first one. I have used a few of these. Yeah, that feels slidey. But it looks just like water, even though there's a slight murkiness to it. This is reliant on or uses, not reliant, I don't really know what they're reliant on, but it uses SiO2, and I think so does the Armour. So a couple of them have gone down that SiO2 route, which is an established chemical technology. So you can see I've gone over and just wiped the thing on. I just want to see what this looks like now when I'm just drying this. It feels good. So I'm not quite getting all the film up. That's more the cloth. There's a nice feel to this. Just flip that towel. Well, there's no virtual. There's some hazing from the water film, isn't there? So there's some of that, but it's not too bad, and it's disappearing. It's a cold day, cold, wet day, humid day as well. That's really good on the film and the slickness. So that's a good feel, but it's the first one. It really is the first one. So we're just going to do this one product at a time. Where's my pen? Geon. So I want wet, I want dry. A good level of good. It's hard to compare at the moment, but I'm just going to say it felt slick, and drying was smooth with minimal trail. There was no trail, was there? There was just a little water mist that went. So minimal haze, we'll put. Minimal haze. I don't want to be chasing back over a more concentrated film when I do this. I want to wipe it over. I want it to be slick, and then I want to be able to gently wipe and then not have to chase out the streaks. And I don't want to see any little patches of the product left behind. So that's passed that test. I should really just, I'll just put a pass there. We'll see. I'm sure most of them are going to pass, but you never know, do you? You never know. So what's this next one? This next one here is, what is this? What is it? What is it? What the hell does that say? Oh, Armour. Okay, so let's just give it a mix up. Again, quite watery, a little bit of surfactant on top. I want them more like this than that one there, which is the Autoglym one. You can see that film on top of it. I will mix all that up, but I'd prefer them to be all just like a plain liquid. Right, so let's go to a different area. Let's go to this side of the bonnet. Oh, I need to just grab some filming footage of this because I'm probably going to include this in the video. So this is interesting, isn't it? It's not wetting out like the Geon did. It's and it's all the same protection on this car, which is hydrophobic. So that's partly to do with the protection. But the Geon film of water that went over it wetted it out better. So that has lower wetting than the Geon. One of them out of these I know because I've had them all on this test panel down there, the other side, and had a chance after I've used them all to see how they wet out after they've been applied, if any material leaves behind. And obviously a couple of them leave material behind, but when I'm applying the chemical over them, some of them form a film, you know, others of them bead up as you're applying them so they don't wet out as well. And I think it's a good quality to wet out, usually. That's usually what a surfactant does. So big difference there. So the Armour doesn't wet out quite as well. So let's leave that there for a second. But we're interested in the buff as well. It's not necessarily a problem. Yeah, it's nice. That's nice, yeah. I haven't done a full use of the Armour, so I will do a full clean and do a full video on it. Really nice though, really easy that is. It doesn't feel quite as slick when I'm drying it, but it's partly to do with microfiber on a wet surface. But again, there's a little haze there, but that's going to vape off. That was no different to the Geon. I haven't got to go chasing that. So, I'm just waiting. It's wetness more than product, I think. So you could go back and get a dry side and get it bone dry. There's nothing wrong with that though, really. It's absolutely fine, isn't it? Tiny differences between these products. No problems with that at all, really. Just an observation on wetting. So I'll put that, just leave that there. Bring that over here. I know this is very informal as well. Where's the wet cloth? It's sunk to the bottom. Why is that one floating? Oh, it must be a bit there. There's air. The other one's sunk and that's floating. It's probably air. So, what are we doing? Armour. Wet wipe's fine. Yeah. I can't tell. Maybe the Geon was slightly slicker. But it was fine. Smooth buff. No difference really. Minimal haze. It's definitely a pass. Yeah, let's give a slick rating. For the time being, I don't want to put 10 because then if there's one that's slicker, I'm screwed. So I'll just put here like 5-star. And then with the Armour, the slickness when wet, I would say would be less. So maybe it was like a 2.5. So it's just informal. I might change those numbers as we go through and use a few more at the moment. But that's fine, isn't it? Oh, and I just want to note there, lower wetting. So we're learning a little bit. Okay. Right, next. This is Autoglym, I think. Let me just treble check that. AG, yeah, that's Autoglym, you see it there. So yeah, there's a film, a kind of oily film. I put my fingers in this earlier on when the top of this film is slippery. So it's like a material that's slippery. I can feel it in my fingers. I feel it in my toes. So whatever that is, it rises to the top. There's quite a lot of it, really, considering this is down at 1 to 200. There's a lovely smell coming out of this. what is it? It's got pear drop pineapple or something like that. Whatever it is, it's a nice scent. I'm not too worried about scents. I have made a note of all the scents. It's 50 of them. 50 cents. You get it. You're funny, John. Right, so let's go on. Yeah, there's a slickness to this beyond the Armour. And this is wetting out slightly better. But, you know, there is hydrophobicity going on, but it's wetting out better than the one I just used, the Armour, which was really kind of, didn't want to form any film. Yeah, so that feels nice. Oh, let's just leave that bit as it is, because I need my panels here. I'm going to run out of panel space. So the wipe on that is really nice. Yeah, and it seems to have something in it, which is definitely slidey. You can feel it on your fingertips. But is it like, what is it? Is it a silicone? Is it a glycol? Is it a surfactant? What is it? Don't know. It's an oily film on the top that provides quite a lot of slip. There's definitely, I can't tell the difference between Autoglym and Geon on that wet slickness. So I'll just put them as the same for the time being, see if we go beyond. Oh, I was going to use those as my wet cloths. Yeah, and these as my dry. Never mind. Okay. So let's just now dry this Autoglym off. Let's have a look. Feels good. A little bit more hazy than the others, but I need to go back over that, flip it and go back over. It would eventually vape out, but you can see it's definitely leaving a hazier thing going on. Now when I've got to wipe it, there's more residue with this. And look, it's just fighting me a little bit more than some of those others. Those other ones were a bit more vapey. It will go though, the more I wipe it. Interesting, yeah. You just leave it alone and it will vape back out. That's definitely more hazy though than the other ones. It's starting to go now. But yeah, interesting. Once it's vaped, can I still see like that swipe mark where it swirls around there and then the other bit there? Because that's what I don't want. I just want it to vape to nothing. That's where, within that material there, it's mostly water, but it's some product. Mind you, down at these lower concentrations, it shouldn't really, once it's vaped, yeah, you probably shouldn't see anything. Yeah. It's okay, but slower, still waiting for it to do its thing. My cloth's wet now, so if I go over it, I'm going to put more of the hazy stuff back on. But that's definitely more hazy than the other ones. Maybe more active ingredients, who knows? No, can't be that. Well, could be, because they could come with some water, who knows? Don't know. This is what the whole purpose of this is to observe. Let's just dry that bit off as well. You know, there's still streak bits on there, but they will disappear. I'm just gonna, not quite as quick to get me to a clean panel. Okay, so let's go and make some notes on that. Autoglym, yeah, the slickness good. Dryness, the slickness felt fine, it was smooth. But just hazy, I'm going to put as an observation, and slower to clear. But it's still a pass. Well, I think most of them are going to pass, aren't they? Right, next. Next, what have we got here? Which one's this? DIY detail. Well, interesting. I haven't used this in anger yet. I will use it in anger. We'll go with this one all the same. And then we'll use that one to dry. We'll come around this side. We'll come around this side. Oh, I need to get some camera footage of me doing this for the main video. filming myself. What an idiot. Let's just do that. Look at these camera skills. Have you ever seen? Yeah, that can do. Yeah. That'll do. It's in auto mode, that'll do. Right. Let's put that over there. Let's give it a little stir it up, little darling. So this is quite, it's a bit of surfactant foam on the top, which they all have, but it's quite a sort of, there's no film on top or anything. It just looks like a bucket of water, which is possibly a good thing, I think. That feels slick. I like that. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, it's not wetting out quite as well as still the Geon probably wetted out the best. That's not wetting out quite as well as the Autoglym either. It's really a slightly higher surface tension there. You know, I could get that a little bit of layering going on with Geon, you know, with the thing. But that's fine. It feels good. It feels a bit slicker than the Autoglym. Yeah, so that I would say, you know, I think that's probably the slickest so far. I didn't think I was going to go down this route of saying that, but I would say that if the Geon and the Autoglym are 5s, then this would be a 6, I think. You know, based on finger in the wind. Yeah, I'm not looking at cleaning or anything like that. So now I'm interested in this buff. Feels good. The dry buff feels slick as well. I can feel it. It's weird. It's different to the Autoglym, isn't it? At this point, I'm going to stop buffing and just see. So I've got a bit of haze, but it's going to start vaping out on its own in a minute. Interesting. Slower to vape. Slower for that streaking to disappear. Starting to go now. I mean, it's not a major consequence. But it's what I'm looking at, you know, just looking for any differences. So you could get, you know, a lot of time it's just, you could get another, if you want it to go quickly, you could get another cloth or flip your microfiber and then just keep going. But the more buffing you've got to do, you know, the less buffing you've got to do, the easier it is to use the product. So it's quite a slow vape, but then they're not, these are water based, aren't they? So really you're reliant on whatever that is to slowly evaporate on a humid cold day. It just stays on the panel. But the Armour, I thought, and the Geon were better on that front. It's starting to go now. I just thought they were better. They went a lot quicker than the Autoglym and the DIY. Maybe I dried them more, I don't know, but it's starting to go now. There's just some little bits there. Can I still see it after it's dry? No, I can't. Still, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's nothing unusual. Let's just dry that off. That would obviously be a pass, but just a slightly slower. The haze. The haze was slightly slower to disappear. But there was a really good feel to that. So I would say the slickness on that one was like a 6. That's good. I knew I was going to have to go higher. And a bit hazy, not quite as bad as, maybe I should put a mark there. That was quite hazy, wasn't it? So let's put a 5 on the hazy, and we would say the DIY on the haze front was maybe a 3. I'll just, you know, slower vape to clear. So just observations at this point. Just observations. I did like the slickness of that one though. Right, here, I've used this one before. This one gets an oily film on top of it as well. Can you see it? This is the Wolfgang. It's interesting. Get in that microfiber. Oh, let's just stir this up a bit more as well. Less soapy, this one, isn't it? You can get a bit of bubbles going, but definitely less sort of surfactanty, flatter. That's the word. I've done a video on this one already. I quite like this one. This feels like the DIY detail. It's not the same, but it has that slickness that I think is even better. It's just feels a little bit slicker to me than the Geon. I know there's not much in it, but there's something oily in this that feels really good. I like the feel of that. That's enough. I only need a little test area. I'll do this on the glass as well. That is slippery. Nice feel to that one. Didn't have any problem. I tell you what, the buff on this is better than the other ones as well. This is less grabby. Yeah, I tell you what, I've made a note of this on the post-its as well. This one really has low wetting as well. But this has the best, slickest dry buff out of all of them so far. And when you're spreading it, it's like the DIY, nice and slidey, but it has a slidiness to it when you buff. I like that. There's some issues with the Wolfgang one, but I won't spoil the party, but it's got some really good characteristics as well. That's one of the best dry buffs as well. And literally, for some reason, you don't get that little misty haze with it that you do on the others. You get a little tiny bit, but it's really good on the buff, this. It's not a bad product, this Wolfgang's. You can see it a bit more there because of the light. Can't see the light down there, but it still vapes out a lot quicker. I like the user experience with using the Wolfgang. I think that's got a few things going for it, that product. But it's got a few things against it as well, which is true of a lot of them. But that is probably, so far, that would be the nicest one to wipe wet and wipe dry. I'd give that, say, a 5. And the dry wipe on the Armour was fine. DIY was a bit hazy, and the Autoglym slow to clear, yeah, so I'd give that the same as the DIY. But so far, the Wolfgang is up there with the DIY, in my opinion, on this slickness, this whole slick thing. But the dry, so far that's been the best dry wipe. About dry wipe out of all of them. So it wasn't hazy really, but it's just really a slick dry buff. Noticeably. So I'd give that a 6 for the time being, but that might be as good as it gets. I'd be surprised if there could be this isn't the whole test, this is just one part of it. But that's as good as it gets in terms of, so far, of wipe on, wipe off, wax on, wax off. Yeah, I liked that. Which one's this one? McKees. Okay, let's go in. bit more soapy than the, a bit more bubbly, surfactanty than the Wolfgang, which is a bit more lubey. Yeah, the Wolfgang I would describe as lubey. Oh, I'm going to have to stay away from that bit over there. It's a bit wet. See, this one has a good... See, the protection wants to break through, but this has a good wetting on it. Does feel quite nice and slidey as well. Feels fine. That's like there with the Geon. Perhaps not quite as slidey as the DIY, but I'd say that was a 5. That's a nice thing. So it's really just now the dry buff on that. I can put that over this bit now. It doesn't matter. Yeah, just get it all there. Where is it? Here, isn't it? Yeah, it's a bit more surfactanty. Let's hope it's got a good dry buff on it. Been using this McKees version 1 with no problems for ages, so I know it works. This is version 2. I wonder what, put in the comments if you know what they changed. It's nice. That's probably the second best buff so far. It's pretty, well, over here we're into dangerous territory of maybe cross-contamination. Somebody be going nuts. But that felt like a nice buff. There is a haze to it as well, so I'm still waiting for that. You see that? So it doesn't fade to black instantly, but that's nice. Very difficult to do this, guys. This is one of those tests where it'd be great to invite a load of blokes around like we did with the glass cleaner. And just like, come bring your car around and come and use these. And I'll have all the buckets ready and come and use them. Tell me which one you like best. A bit like the glass cleaner, it'll be like, Jesus. That's why you have to do the lab tests, because all these products are fit for purpose. They're all fit for purpose. And if you don't think of some ways to differentiate them, it will come down to personal preference and which brand you like, or price. You know, but... yeah, it's enjoyable though, just doing this, you know. Well, up to a point. I've been up to a point. I want this test finished now. I'm on the home straight, really. This is my last formal test, and then I'm going to be washing every single car in the ones that washing my car over the next few weeks in the ones I haven't fully used. Right. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Oh, let's write this down. So yeah, that was. Did I say that was as slick as the DIY? I think it was. Really good slickness on the McKees. Nice feel when it's wet. Yeah, maybe. Let's say it's about the same as the Geon. I still think the DIY had a je ne sais quoi. Wet buff was just like similar to the Geon. A bit haze, minimal, but it didn't stick around as long, so a 5 again there. Fine. No real observations there. That just sets a good standard. Yeah, fine, absolutely fine. So let's move on. Now there's one that I don't want to use until the very end, which will be the Labo. What's that? Koch. Okay, I've used this one before. This should be fine. So let's go into the Koch bucket. Not too surfactanty, not bringing up as many sort of bits of you know, bubbles and all that, foamy. Whoa, don't do that, John. It was daft. Yeah, feels like the McKees a little bit. Very slick. Doesn't wet quite as well as the McKees. This is on the side panel, but it's still not as kind of, it's a bit not kind of like the Armour. It wets out a bit better than the Armour. This feels really good to me. Wet, that feels really good. That it's either a 5 or a 6. It's just whether or not it's a 6. whether it's as good as the DIY on the slickness. I might need to go again. I might need to literally go again. That's dry now, so I'm just gonna, where's that DIY one? Where's that DIY gone? One of these clean ones, wouldn't it? No. There it is. Just want to try something. Gonna get a bit, I don't want to get too much of the liquid down there. That's slick, yeah. It's nice. It's impossible to separate those two. Let me just dry that back off again. Just that drying with the DIY isn't quite as good. It takes a bit more effort to get it to the point where it's going to disappear. Now you could probably leave it. Let's get the Koch. I think they feel the same to me. Not the same, but I can't tell the difference in. I can't tell the difference in slickness really. Both pretty good on that front. Still, you do get a bit of that hazing with that. Yeah, it feels good. When you're drying, that feels nice. The Koch one doesn't talk about adding gloss, but it talks about leaving a smooth finish. And it does. And I like that. I think it's a good quality to when you're using a rinseless. But I'm still waiting for this to vape out as well. Look. That vape is all that important. This cloth's a little bit wetter than some of the others. It's not going to help. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. It's still wet there. You can see the type of wetness. You can really see my paint in all its light. There's some scratches there. This part of the door has some sanding marks in it from the, oh, that might be the only deep scratch in my car. But this paintwork on this car is pretty good. I know about that. I did that with my keys. You can see if you've really got keen eyes, you might be able to just see some sanding marks in there. Yeah, they did a pretty good job. Right. Yeah, nice. Definitely slick. I'm going to end up repeating that a lot, aren't I? But that Koch is a 6, I think. Yeah, I made some observations of the Armour before, that it was perhaps not as slick as some of the others. It's got some things going for it, but it may not be the latest version either. I don't know. Someone said in the comments they're changing version. Maybe they're making one that's slicker. But yeah, so let's move on. Grab another towel. Over here, getting there, guys. This is really P&S. Okay, so this one, I think you really do need to mix it all up. You can get little bits in it. Someone was talking about that in the comments. This one can be quite surfactant-y. And if you shake the bottle too much, like someone said, you can get little chunks. Get a little chunky game going. Let's go around the back of this. Over here. Oh, I've left the camera on. Bloody hell. Oh, Jesus. That's going to be a ridiculously long shot. I'll have to delete that. How long has that been going for? 18 minutes. You plonker. Delete that. Delete. Yeah. Right. Get off. Bloody cameras. Work these tripod cameras out there. Pain. Right, let's leave that there. Put that on record. We'll get a dry cloth. We'll have a lot of washing, a lot of cloths to wash later on. It's garage. I can't wait to just get this test finished and get back to having a normal garage like a normal person. Let's garage has seen some action over the years. Not that type of action. Which one's this? This feels slick. You see the difference though, like between this and the Wolfgang, how this wets more. God, that's good. Yeah, that's really nice. That might be the slickest wet one yet. Might be. Might be. That's good. Even the cloth feels kind of slick. My hand feels kind of slick, I think. Yeah, that's a real smooth one. I hope it buffs okay. Right, let's try that. I think that's got water softeners in it. That's quite an interesting one, that is. Let's go, let's go. Doesn't have that same slickness as the Wolfgang under buffing, but, and there is more haze there, a lot more haze. So the wet slickness on this was good. Just feels a bit grippy when you're buffing it. Interesting. Yeah, there's definitely more haze with this one. I don't have the, well, you haven't got the light there, but I can still see it. It's starting to go now. It's a bit hazier and a bit grippy on buff, but lovely when it's wet. Game of two halves, that is. Game of two halves. It's just starting to go now, but that slower. And I hope when it's dried, I can't see like that line, that patchiness. You shouldn't do, because it's down at a low ratio, so there's not enough active ingredient with whatever's been left behind for you to be able to see, hopefully, you'd think. But this definitely doesn't want to dry as quick. It's still waiting. Come on. And just as you are buffing it, the Wolfgang felt oily and nice. It felt like buffing, like after you've applied a quick detailer or something. Whereas this, the cloth is just, there's a grip, there's a grippiness to it, which obviously might just be liquid and microfiber, but some of these other products seem to have a magic thing going on with the buff where you don't get that grippy feeling. You can even hear it. You hear it? Just a little bit more resistance on the buff. Yeah, interesting. Not bad though, guys. It's not a fail or anything like that. In fact, it could be one of the slickest when wet. Don't know. I think it's up there. Oh, Jesus, I'm tripping over buckets. I'm kicking the bucket. Right, let's try and write that up. So, as good as any when wet, but slower vape. And I would almost say, like, I don't want to put grabby because people will panic, but it's just thicker. It's just got that more resistance. Thicker buff is probably the best way, and a slower vape. Yeah, so far, really, with any of these, the only one I noticed that was perhaps not as slick is the Armour. That's the only exception to the rule. The rest of them would be very hard to separate, but probably DIY, Wolfs and Koch have got the edge. On buffing, the McKees was fine, the Geon was fine. The P&S perhaps has a slight issue there, you know, as in there's better. The DIY has a little bit of haze and a slower vape. The Armour was a good vape. The Wolfgang's is the best dry one so far, best to buff. Really sort of slidey. Right, so we're getting there, guys. This is what this is all about. Because you also got to remember, there's 1 unit of product with the Wolfgang to 400 units of water. So you've got tiny amounts of this material in there. So it's very hard to gauge the differences, which is something we've talked about. Carbon collective, okay, it's been interesting. I'm going to put this through its paces. So this one is very affordable. Very affordable. has a party trick that goes from orange to green when it hits the water. A little bit of foaming going on there, not quite foamy, yeah, quite surfactanty. I need to really go over something a bit that I've done before. Let's do the wing. We've got any other bits on the car? We could do the door. Let's do the door. Oh, I'm still recording on that camera. Oh, Jesus. Oh, stop doing that. Too many things going on here. Still recording. 6 minutes that time, that'll do. Bloody hell. Right, just take another shot this way, Doug, and we'll do the wing on this side. It's fine. It's not the slickest. It's just, I'd say, it's less slick than the Geon, which wasn't the slickest. I'd give it like a 4. It's slicker than the Armour. You know, so I'd give that the 4. One below the 5. There's lots I could talk to you about with the Carbon Collective, but I don't want to spoil the tests. But I'll tell you about that party trick of changing colour. It's 1 to 480, so it's the most highly concentrated in the test when you use it as a rinseless. It can be used for a lot of different functions. The buff on it is pretty good. Not a hazy buff. There's still a bit of wetness there. Yeah, that's a really quick vape, which is nice. So that's one of the... But it's not, I tell you, it's not as slick as some of the others, even with the application and with the buff. But whatever's there, there's less kind of film to chase out on it, which I quite like. So it goes quite quickly. That feels different to all of them in this test. As you can see, the greeny tinge to it. Feels different. It's definitely the strength of this Carbon Collective, though, isn't its slickness. So I'm just going to put that slightly below the other ones. So Geon and McKees give a good sort of midpoint on a good slick product. What have I given 6 for? Yeah, that was really slick. That was really slick. The Autoglym, yeah, that was like the Geon. But the Koch DIY and PNS were probably the slickest. Oh, and the Wolfgang. Koch, Wolfgang, DIY, PNS, probably the slickest. Where am I with this? Carbon Collective, yeah, Slick 4. Great vape, but not that smooth, but not grippy. What did I put it? Similar to the PNS, yeah, thicker buff, I think is the way to describe it. But great fast vape, no hazy film, which I like. Thicker buff. I don't want ticking these, they're all going to pass, aren't they? Yeah, interesting. Lower wetting, we've made a note there as well. Yeah, I've not put any notes on the Koch buff, but it's slick to buff. And the haze reduction was just normal, kind of average. Haze, fine. Yeah. Right, next, what should we do? Right, wet cloth. Oh, I need to turn that camera off. Don't forget, turn the camera off, John. Which one? Which one? What's this one here? What's this one? Feynlab. Okay, it's an interesting one. This has got a few claim to fames as well, which I'll hold fire from talking about. Let's leave that there. Put that in there. The wife's holiday roast. I was watching that the other day. Great film that is, isn't it? Jaws. I was on holiday, it was on the TV. Great film. Was it Robert Shaw who played Quint? He was a brilliant actor. He was just played that like New England fisherman, belligerent kind of guy, angry. He just played it perfection. This has to be the most surfactant ridden. That is different to any of them. It's really rich in surfactant. Look at that. It's almost like a normal, look at that. This has the product, the Feynlab product is really thick, like, and sort of like viscous. Look at that. Completely different to any of the others in this test. Completely different. But this, look at that. At such a low concentration. I mean, Christ, that must be loaded. There must be no water. This is really interesting, actually. This confirms something I noticed earlier on and I talked about in other videos. There must be no water in that Feynlab product. It's just pure surfactant. That is so concentrated. It's unbelievable. I think this is down at 1 to 250. It's just so, it's just unbelievable. But it might be too soapy for some. Which bit haven't I used? Have I done the wing? I can't remember. I can't remember. I mean, this, yeah. Well, I'd have to do some more testing on this. Because this is too much. Look at that. So I'm going to have, oh, it does tell you, this particular product, that after you've gone over the panel, then you've got to go in a second bucket and clean your wash meter out. But I think that's more to do with the 2 bucket wash thing, but we'll do that. So look at all the surfactant coming out the cloth. That's another level, that is. But I think it might be too soapy for a waterless wash, for a rinseless wash. Incredible, but it's actually not. When you think about it, it's not that incredible because you put a car soap in at 1 to 250, and you could get suds like that. But that's different to all of them, completely different. This is like using a detergent. You get that. I'm really interested to see. Let's just, so we've wiped over the panel, yeah? Let's put that back in there. It's like buffing off a car soap. Feels good though. Feels nice. Feels good. I thought it was going to be like squeaky clean and grippy, but that feels good. Very interesting, this one, the Feynlab. It's got some real pros to this one, as in like it's got some real strengths, this product. But that level of foaming for a rinseless wash and the concentration of it, it's just chemically so different from all of the others. And ultimately, we're looking for a product which encapsulates the kind of dirt that we wipe over and then, you know, we wipe off. This might actually be a little bit too powerful in terms of surfactant-y. They've gone maybe perhaps a little bit overboard on the sort of surfactants, you know, the normal surfactants. I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud. Everything you say gets you crucified. That's interesting. So the slickness is absolutely fine. I'd say like it's 5. The drying slickness, absolutely fine. Smooth, 5. But there is a problem. Too surfactant rich. Say surfactant, but too foaming surfactant. My hands feel stripped down after using that, like they do when you've washed them in like a really strong like dish soap or something. They feel really clean, degreased. Too surfactant rich. I don't know what the word. Maybe too much cleaning power. Very interesting. This is why we're doing this. This is why we do it. Right, what we got next? Optimum and Labo. So we're going for the Optimum next. Oh, I need to turn that bloody camera off, don't I? Is that camera still going? We're nearly there, guys. Who's still here? Right, this is the Optimum. The ONR. It's got a bit of the ONR has a bit of a funky smell to it, doesn't it? It's like, it is fruity, but it's got like a bit of a fermented fruity thing going on. Yeah, it's weird. It's got weird the smell on it. What we do the rear quarter. Oh God. Oh God. Around here we go. Running out of panels on the car. Okay, I think this rear quarter is good to do, isn't it? Is this still recording? No. Right, off with that. Oh, I've got a nice bit of dirt down there actually. Right. I think I know how this is going to go. This won't be too. Look, this is way less surfactanty. You know, less foaming, less detergent, whatever, and more polymer. Some as you say, like the polymer thing. I'm no expert, but I just think that's a bit of a red herring. Like, just forget the word polymer and just say materials or substance, really, because I don't think it's that relevant. But anyway, I'm not interested in that. So yeah, this one's like always a good benchmark, I think, the Optimum. Always a good benchmark. Been around for a long time. Been through 5 revision changes to improve it over the years. It's been around for a long time, isn't it? How many years? 20, 30 years? I don't know. Long time. More than 10 years. When was Optimum No Rinse released? A good slickness. Lovely. More than just water. It's doing something, trust me. Nice. This is a nice product. You can't not like Optimum No Rinse. I don't think I've heard anyone ever say there's anything bad about it. But I just don't think you can not like this as a rinseless wash product. There's nothing really not to like. I'd say that was a 5 and a 5. A bit like the Geon, possibly not the slickest, but really low on that haze, and just a good standard, like a real good standard on and off. Good benchmark, really. Right, we've got one more to do. That's a solid 5.5 with absolutely zero problems. Very good. I've always liked the O&R. Slick 5, wet 5, no grabbiness to it like some of them had. Just no streaks. Just really good, really solid like that. Bit like the Koch. Yeah, a bit like the Koch. The DIY was good on the slickness when wet, but a bit hazy on the wipe. P&S was great on the slickness, but the wipe wasn't good. The Wolf's was really slick. Yeah, I think, you know, doing this will give me a little favourite, I think, or it'll give me a little subset of ones that I think are where a waterless wash should be, both on and off. The most controversial thing so far is that the Feynlab, really, for me, with the detergents. Detergent. I've run out of space here on my panel. This one leaves stuff behind, so this is like a sealant, so my cloth's going to get sealed, and the sealant's quite good in this actually, reasonably impressive, not too foamy. Oh, actually, no, a bit not too bad though. Yeah. Where should we go with this, guys? We'll go on the back quarter round here on the roof. So again, it's that on and off that I'm interested in. This little section here I think is good. Yeah, it wets out nicely. Not too beady. Good. Reminds me, so that 5 out of 5 level slickness, not quite the top drawer, but up there where you probably, I could be wrong, you know, it's fine. That's pretty good, a bit hazy. Let's see, let's have a look, just give it a second. No, it's pretty good. It's going already. But this has to have a level of sealant in it that's going to work. A little bit hazy, but I've got more light here, so it's showing it. Not the slickest buff, but not the grippiest either. I'd say that's like a 5 on slickness and a 4 on the dry buff. Not the slickest, but not bad, but you know, a suitable, acceptable standard. Yeah, it's just vaping off now. But no problems with that. The Labo does have some interesting things going on with it as well. It's got a few of you really liked it in the comments. It's got a couple of things about it that are good. The hydrophobics on the protection seem quite good for a 1-256 as well, if you're into that. But it might come into personal preference if you want all of that protection being laid down. They're rinseless. Some of you don't care, some of you do. I kind of do. I just prefer it if it wasn't there. But I'm not going to let that impact this testing really. But I just raise it, and you can, you know, someone might say, well, I don't want that, so I'll rule that one out. And other people will say, no, I love the sound of that. Yeah, I can add protection when I'm washing. So I'm going to go wet slickness 5, dry buff 4. Sort of a slightly slower vape, but a bit faster than the Autoglym. Yes, the Autoglym had a good slickness, but it was just slower to clear and a bit hazy on the buff. I'd say 11 out of 12 I would think were completely normal, with tiny differences between them, and just the Feynlab threw a spanner in the works with its how rich it is in surfactant. That just caught me by surprise. That really caught me by surprise. It's so much more concentrated in surfactants than all the others. It's so rich. It must literally have no water in it, which explains something. They've literally... It's not often you say they might need to weaken this a little bit. Well, it doesn't seem... When it's in the bottle, it doesn't seem anything different. But I remember... Just tip that. Come on. Little drop. It's so thick. It's not like treacle, but it's absolutely loaded, that is. Yeah. And it's the one after using, my hands suddenly felt like I'd been in a bath, you know. My hands and skin felt squeaky clean. Right. Okay, I've learnt a few little things. There won't be... I'm going to go through and redigest this and maybe have a little further play around with a few things. I've got to try and translate what I was talking about there just into some points. But there's tiny differences with this. So I'm not going to sort of, if I think one was the slickest, it's not going to get like 100 points and the next slickest gets 80. It's going to be nothing like that. It will be, I think I might just section up 10 marks for this usage experience. And most of them will be fine because they all go on well. So there'll be a few marks up for grabs here, but I will make some notes and I will come off the fence and tell you which ones I personally think are the slickest and which ones I think come off the car the nicest, which ultimately is very, very important. Some could argue that is the thing that people are looking for. But I'm also in the corner of my mind thinking, well, I've had 10 guys in this garage with me doing this with me. Would they agree? Because it's so close. I think I might be able to convince them with like the Wolfgang, because I could feel it. Like the buff on it was like so slidey. I'd be going, can't you see that? And I think they'd be yes, but then they might say, well, look, try this one though, can't you feel this? And I might learn something off of them, and we might all have different little preferences. So it's all very close, all very interesting. But I suppose at the end of the day, most of the testing is my kind of thoughts on all of this. Very difficult one, this, but I think I'm starting to get there. Now all I've got left to do is use the ones that need to be used on this car after it's been out and driven in the wet and rain and got a bit of film on it, and just use them again and carry on making those types of usage notes, so that because they are important. I've got all my cleaning, I've got all the formal testing done, so I'm nearly there. There's a front running pack, and really it's just this last bit of user experience, I guess, that's gonna swing it one way or the other. Very interesting. I'm just thinking I need to turn the camera off and just do some thinking. Take care, guys. Let me know your thoughts. So I've got some washing to do now as well. Look at this. Bloody ridiculous. Over and out.